SEDA COG MPO meeting. Kind of our normal thing is the public forum at the outset. And I think, Kristen, thank you for admitting everybody and renaming everyone on the screen. So we'll kind of avoid that introductions for all those. If there's any phone numbers that you know, we can try and get those identified here in the near term. But for those that are just in the room, I know we have at least a new guest with Michael from District 3. We'll go ahead and do introductions of the folks in the room here. My name's Steve Herman with SEDA COG MPO, the Transportation Program Director, and we'll pass around to Kristen and go this way, please.
Hello, I'm Kristen McLaughlin with the SEDA COG MPO, and we are recording this meeting.
Kay Ike from SEDA COG.
Brad Kerstetter, Juniata County Planning.
Don Keel, SEDA COG MPO.
Greg Moulter, Montour County Planning.
Michael Walsh, PennDOT District 3 Civil Engineer Training.
Steve Gibson, Clinton County Planning.
Great, thank you all for that. Welcome, Michael. Your first time, I think, participating in this forum, and hopefully you find it rewarding. And thank you, Steve, for now being the full-time permanent Clinton County Planning Director and Engineer. So
Thank you.
appreciate you being with us now. And we have your resolution. We'll cover some other things related to that and administrative things to MPO later on. But thank you, Kristen, for the recording. And just as a reminder, this is being recorded, and we'll have it uploaded to SEDA COG YouTube site afterward, and also a link published on our SEDA COG MPO page. So if anybody wants to access that afterward, or anybody from the general public can listen along and participate virtually afterward. I think we had about 17 people hit the survey for today. So just put that reminder out as you're able. We do the online Survey Monkey. Kind of helps us to plan, quarterly, make sure we have printouts for those that are here in the room with us, and those virtually. And then if maybe you're using a phone number, we can try and have that recorded in our files to tag you for the virtual participation. So just to put that plug out again for hitting that when we send those out, pretty much just your name and if you're participating and what fashion. So those quick hitters. Next item on the agenda is approval of the October 7th MPO meeting minutes. So if everyone has had a chance to review those either prior to today or once you arrive, we'd look for a motion to approve the October 7th. Oh, Greg, thank you. We have a motion by Greg Moulter first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brad Kerstetter. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, hearing none, the motion is passed, and the minutes are approved and will be uploaded to our website as well. We usually keep 3 years worth of minutes out there on the website. Next is our TIP administrative modifications and amendments, agenda item D. So in your packet, if you're following along in the room or online, that begins on page 10. And we do have a few amendments for this meeting for consideration and review. So the first one in your packet on page 10 is for District 2. There's some changes there that we'll defer to Mark Schultz to run down for us, please, and capture what's happening here with these modifications. And then we look for a motion to approve this amendment. So Mark, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, thank you, Steve. Appreciate the opportunity, and good morning, all. Looking at District 2's amendment chart, we had the good opportunity for funds that had been converted on the 2021 TIP that were previously planned and proposed on the 2023 TIP. Those fund conversions allowed us to, in a sense, save. We had cost savings or funds that were not necessary, not needed for these specific projects and project phases that will allow us to redistribute those funds within the 2023 TIP to other projects. So on the top there, we see McVaytown, Strodes Mills. We had the opportunity to recover $2 million of NHPP funds, put that back into the reserve line item, as well as Valley Street Betterment, which is a project that has been bid and is out to construction. These project savings were supported because of cost splits, construction phase funding that we had out over multiple years and we were covering those phases in 2023. As I mentioned, the redistribution and the conversion of those funds allows us to bring that money back onto the tip. In line 4, the 22P41 project is a bridge preservation project for construction. This is a bridge preservation on 2022 that involves 6 bridge structures. 2 of those bridge structures were originally intended to have bridge preservation activities on their bridge deck only. It has been discovered in recent surveys and I believe core borings of those bridge decks that those bridge decks should be replaced. And while we're in there with the project, it decided that it was a good opportunity to invest in that. So we're utilizing a great portion of those funds towards the bridge deck replacement for that project. Next step down, you'll see the PE phase for 22P54. We are advancing this PE start from 2024 so that we can do bridge preservation work within Juniata County. And then on down, we have Paul Mac Boulevard. We had an increased cost on the construction bid for the highway lighting and a need for an additional $286,000 there. And the very bottom, we have what's identified as the SEDA COG Concrete Preservation Project. It is labeled as SR 477 in Clinton, but this project will cover locations in Clinton County, Juniata County, and Mifflin County, concrete roadways that have been identified as needing preservation. Those areas include 220 in Clinton, 477 in Clinton, 322 in Mifflin, and 75 in Juniata. That's all I have for that chart. Any questions?
Thank you, Mark, for elaborating on that and capturing, leveraging as much funding as you can within the region. So appreciate that. Are there questions on any of the projects that Mark ran down for us? If not, we look for a motion to approve the District 2 amendment as presented there on page 10. Motion by Brad. Thank you, Brad. Do we have a second?
Frank Hampton.
Frank, thank you for the second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Motion has passed. Next, we'll just segue into some additional amendments here. And those are in District 3 that begin on page 11 of your packet. So there'll be 3 consecutive sheets there of amendments within District 3. So we'll go ahead and entertain discussion and have John Rank go ahead and run down those for us. And then afterward, we'll vote on all the administrative actions that are in your packet. They include District 2 and 3 changes. So John, could you please give us more details on the amendments for District 3?
Yes, thank you, Steve. Can you hear me?
Sounds good.
Very good. Good morning, everybody. I have 3 amendments for you today, and I'll just get right into it and start with the first one here. The first one is on Route 80 from West Klondike Road to Mosses Creek tributary. Basically, this is a section of 80 just when you get into Montour County, if you're going from west to east, from the Northumberland side, almost to Danville. It's a rather large section of resurfacing that we are doing. We need to increase this project on this tip as we didn't get this project let, or I should say obligated, on the previous tip. So therefore we have to bring the funding up to what we had on the previous tip, and any increases that we had, we have to cover as well. So that's why you're seeing a rather large amount. I was able to cover it using line item funds that we had in the out years by adjusting other project phases cash flows. We did not affect any other projects, even in scheduling on this. There might be some effect with some 80 projects, but actually that won't be because of funding. It might be because of just manpower and us turning projects around. So in essence, we didn't take any type of large program hit as far as what we had programmed, but basically I used up almost all the reserve funding that I had in most of the out years. This is one of 5 projects that we'll be letting together basically in this area of Route 80. And again, it's the biggest one. And I'll take any questions on this amendment.
Okay, if there are no questions for John, we look for a motion to approve the District 3 amendment for Interstate 80.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mulder. Greg, thank you. Do we have a second?
Eric Staley, second.
Eric, thank you for the second. All in favor indicate by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Great, thank you, John. Next, page 12 of your packet for the Route 11 project.
Okay, this project is 2 bridges on SR 11, north and south over Fishing Creek, just outside of Bloomsburg, I want to say. We had these 2 bridges with a previous project on SR that 225 that we have obligated and advertised. Unfortunately, when we were in the design, we kind of found a little bit more going on with these bridges, so we pulled them out of that project, and now we want to put them into its own. I have some funds, line item savings from some phases that didn't quite need as much funding, and we had some cash flow like Mark had where we got some savings. So between what we had on the line item and what we had in savings, that we again aren't taking any hits to any other projects, and would just like to re-add this project for the bridges so we can get these 2 bridges done as well. And I'll take any questions on these.
This is Eric Staley from Columbia County. We've been doing a lot of 2D modeling down in that area, Fishing Creek, in conjunction with some flood studies that we've been doing down there. So it would probably be helpful for us to talk offline, that I can provide you with some of that information. Maybe we have the opportunity to do a little bit of flood mitigation as part of these projects.
That sounds good, Eric. Yeah, one way or another, we can get in touch here after the meeting and, discuss this further.
Great. Thank you, Eric, for the comment and sharing that information with John and seeing what could be incorporated potentially. Great. Any other questions or discussion? If not, we look for a motion to approve the District 3 amendment for the Route 11 bridges.
Frank Hampton, so moved.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Eric Staley, I'll second.
Eric, thank you for the second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. The 3rd amendment here in your packet is page 13 for a project removal. John, please.
Okay, for this last amendment, the municipality contacted us and is no longer looking to do any bike or pedestrian improvements on State Route 2008 Bloom Road. Therefore, we are going to remove this project and add the funds to the line item. Again, the threshold isn't over the dollar amount, it's just the fact that we're taking a federal funded project completely off the tip. So we're looking for your concurrence. And again, I believe it's Mahoning Township, hope I got that right, contacted us and said they don't want to, due to all the workarounds that are needed to add bike and pedestrian lanes to SR 2008 in the area they're looking at, it's just kind of getting a little bit too cost prohibitive and probably too much out of control with what needs to be done in right of way and utilities. I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you for the update on that, John. You guys not adding new federal funds is not more than $2 million, but as John said, these are federal funds being completely removed for the tip, so that's why it would qualify as an amendment. So, if there there are any other questions or comments, we'd look for a motion to approve this amendment.
So moved.
Greg Mueller, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Mark Schultz.
Mark, thank you for the second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, that has passed. Following along the packet, page 14 is where we have those administrative modifications, the lesser adjustments. And District 3 is covered on pages 14 to 23 primarily, and then the District 2 adjustments follow. So we'll turn it to Mark. Are there items you want to highlight first from District 2 on these modifications?
Yes, just wanted to mention, I'm scrolling down to the pages here right now for District 2. The River Road on page 22, the River Road Railroad Warning Device in Juniata County. That project has been completed. We're awaiting final invoices. Those funds have been converted on the 2021 tip. So those railroad RRX safety funds have been brought back to the state line item. And on page 24, majority of these are cost savings that were related to funds conversions on the 2021 tip. There is one that was reduced to match a low bid cost in MPMS number 85191 for SR 3002 over Locust Run. And there was another that was a swap of state funds for NHPP funds that were discussed above for 22P54 and advanced starts. As we move down to page 25, we see also again the support of other phases, funds that were available and phases that were in need for utility phase cost increases and construction phase cost increase for branch of Jacks Creek Box in Mifflin County. And on page 26, something that I wanted to mention earlier, the funds that were made available by the NHPP conversion, those funds will now support the advancement of 4 separate bridge project interests for 3006 in Lewistown area for Lewistown Bridges 1 and 2, as well as for bridges on Stony Run Bridge and Doe Run Bridge, which are displayed on page 27. So we're trying to utilize the funds the best support that the project needs within the region. So that's all I have, Steve.
Great, thank you, Mark. Any questions from Mark on those lesser minor adjustments in District 2? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to approve the District 2 administrative modifications?
Motion, Steve.
Motion by Brad. Thank you, Brad. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for the second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, then the District 3 administrative modifications to the TIP projects are pages 14 to 23. And we'll turn it over to John if there's ones you want to highlight here for the members.
Thank you, Steve. Oh, yeah, I'll go over a few of these. There's quite a few, so I'll try to be as brief as I can and just hit the highlights here. Right now, kind of going over just holistically, when you're looking at over, you'll see 2 80 projects, 8182 and 8159 being increased or added back onto the tip. Again, this is part of that 8169 group that we just had the amendment for. This is 2 other of the 5 projects. The 2 other projects that are not listed are interstate funded, and they were also adjusted as well in the past 2 weeks. There's a rather large increase for a project on Route 15, Section 208. Basically, that was to catch it up to what the final estimate came in as, and kind of to catch it up, we had to pull funding from it on the previous tip because it wasn't going to make a letting in time. We adjusted that to other projects. Therefore, the other projects we had funding left over on this tip, so we did an adjustment to get it back then onto the 15208 project. Therefore, we're not, again, losing any projects to have to fund this in our project scheduling. There's some other adjustments done, one on Route 147, project increase as well to the current estimate. We had that in our line item savings. And basically, the majority of the other adjustments that you are seeing are adjustments to current estimates that we have that coming in from project managers as we start project PE and final design phases on projects, and some bid savings and other basically catch-up work from moving from the 2020 the previous tip to the current tip. There one more that I'll highlight is the local bridge, Happy Valley Bridge. That's the name of it. Let me find it here. That we also increased to the current estimate. And again, that bridge was supposed to be let on the previous tip. Unfortunately, we didn't make the letting. I adjusted other project phases to compensate for the funding that was on the previous tip, and then I readjusted those phases and pushed the funding back to the local bridge project. I'll take any questions.
Any questions or comments for John? There's a lot happening there. Obviously, we're in those early stages of the new tips. There were a lot of conversions, and as John said, there's a lot of cost estimates being revised. We're seeing those inflationary pressures all throughout. So thanks for running those down, John. If there's no questions or comments, we'd look for a motion to approve the District 3 administrative modifications. We have a motion by Greg. Thank you. Is there a second?
Frank Hampton, second.
Okay, thank you for the second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none. All the tip adjustments have been approved, and those amendments will get the necessary electronic SNP amendments off to PennDOT following today's meeting. Next section, the next page in your packet, page 28, is just an update on some of those things that the MPO has considered or approved pending other actions or decisions. We carry this list and checked with Betsy Lockwood, who handles our economic development grants and ARC local access roads. The two listed there, Industrial Park Road and Sealands Grove and Marsh Road. Just brief updates on those. The Sealands Grove project, they were going after DCD money to help with some of the cost overruns. And I did not see that the Commonwealth Finance Authority acted this week. I'd seen the pipe grants come out that Don certainly was interested in followed, but I didn't see the multimodal this week. So I'm not sure if that'll be addressed at a later point. We had thought in November is when the DCD multimodal funds would be approved, but I've not seen that. I don't know if any others on the call have any or contrary information, but we'll continue to track that and see if that would affect that project. The next one down the Marsh Road, access road project, they ran into a few issues wetland wise, and so they're working to mitigate those. But the current estimates on those are both for next year, 2023, and we can report more if there's delays or other issues that are running. So those are all our TIP administrative modifications and amendments. Next item on our agenda is our standing CSVT project and Route 54 safety project. John, I know you thought there may not be too much to report. Is there anything new that's happened you want to share with the members on these projects?
Nothing really, Steve. Again, nothing from my last update is the possibility you might see some finishing work on the northern section, just kind of minor, probably guide rail or, backfilling stuff. And again, probably with the new 405 to the old 405 realignment, probably maybe some finishing work around there in the northern section. In the southern section, again, nothing to add from what was before. You'll probably see some activities start to slow down a little bit as the weather turns inclement, and then pick back up again in the spring. And that's my report.
Thank you, John. And I know I had seen on the last Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber call some visuals that were being shared of the culvert being installed as part of that, and that was impressive. And we had that storm event, recently, but I think all the erosion and sedimentation held up on the southern section culvert. There's a variety of structures that are being installed, with the southern section alignment. So I'm glad that was working well. And also, Matt Beck gave us an update. We shared with the members that PennDOT was pursuing some of these discretionary funds through the federal bipartisan law for CSVT southern section to offset some state dollars. And I think there was a request made for some additional information by U.S. Department of Transportation. So hopefully that's a good sign, and maybe we'll see that request approved. Maybe not the full amount, but at least some of those dollars will be saved on the state side if the federal discretionary grant is received. So we'll update you more on that, but we're expecting those announcements sometime this fall or winter. And then on the 54 safety project, anything additional there, John?
Nothing new to add there, Steve. Again, just a little bit of delay in the right-of-way finalization, but I'm pretty sure we got that all squared away, and I think we're looking at final right-of-way here by December.
Great. Yeah, I know Commissioner Holdren was here for the last board meeting, Greg, and inquired about that when he saw it in the minutes, but those were the former minutes. So yeah, I let him know that still it should be let next year and that the right-of-way plan was being finalized. So I think he was glad to hear that. And then the Community Advisory Committee, as John mentioned, will probably meet sometime next year as well. Great. Okay, thank you, John. Next on our agenda, we're up to item F, and that's our normal kind of work program, our catch basket for all the activities that we as staff for the MPO is working on, and some other announcements and updates. I had a few of these. Kind of start off staffing wise. We did hire a replacement for Catherine Wild. So that first item there on page 30 about the Middle Susquehanna Regional Bike Ped Plan, Catherine had headed that up along with all our GIS activities and local bridge prioritization and the data collection she was doing for us. So we were glad to go through interviews, and we do have a successful applicant, and he'll start on December the 12th. His name is Bryce Buck. So we'll make sure to get him introduced to you all and at future MPO meetings, and get him out there and learning a variety of processes and activities and people. So we're glad for that. So again, December 12th, he'll be starting. On the 2022-24 work program, we'll cover that momentarily to get a vote on that, but there were some additional funds that were received coming out of the bipartisan law. On the 2023 to 26 TIP update, we went through last year and adopted as the MPO. Just wanted to refer off that the finding from the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, they're included in your packet here. You can take a look at things that they indicated, strong support for our process as planning partners and PennDOT within Pennsylvania. And there were several commendations that they had and just a few recommendations to kind of maybe tweak the TIP planning process are there as well. So no things that were corrections, but a couple of commendations and a few recommendations to enhance the process. Next on page 31, the electric vehicle program. I know that's of interest to some of the members, and we discussed that in the past in this forum. Kristen was able to attend the electric vehicle workshop, stakeholder workshop last week in Williamsport that PennDOT and DEP and PPL were sharing information on. So if any of you want any presentations afterward, there's a lot out there on the PennDOT website. But if that's of interest to you as to where things are heading with electric vehicles and charging stations, let us know. Page 32, Green Light Go program announcement came out after we sent the packet, but we did share via email on Wednesday that announcement. So PennDOT has advertised that. It'll be open for full applications for these traffic control signal enhancements during the month of January. They can be on state roads or local roads. A variety of upgrades are eligible for the program, and that's going to continue at the 80-20 split. So 8% state funds, 20% local match. And again, there'll be $40 million available statewide. So we've shared those links, and if you have questions or your municipalities, want more information, feel free to let us know. And strong coordination with the district traffic unit is essential for those. On the multimodal projects for PennDOT, that deadline was in November for applications for the latest round, and more than likely we'll start to get access to those late this year and have a chance to review and offer any comments. We'll make sure that we share that with the members at our upcoming meeting. I'm not sure how many may have been submitted from within our 8-county region, but we'll be sure to access those and share details with you. Multimodal for DCD, as I said, those were supposed to be approved this month, but we'll keep tabs on what's happening, and any that are in your region come out before our next meeting in January. We'll make sure that we forward announcements off to everyone. On page 33, next page, we'll just mention that the Route 522 Corridor Safety Project that was funded under the PennDOT Connects program, that was approved at our last meeting in October, the findings, and we'll try to incorporate those, future TIP and long-range plans. And we did publish the final report on our website, so that's out there as well in our resources page. Toward the bottom there, northern tier of our sister agencies to the north, Regional Planning and Development Commission, the RPO up there, got with us on our local bridge process, what's used by SEDA COG, and how we've gone through and worked with the members with our outreach and our scoring process, decision lines, and the GIS data. So we've shared that with them as they're starting with a new committee there, subcommittee, to look at the local bridges. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. And if you have the online packet, that link there from the North Central RPO, one of our other sister agencies, they developed this nice dashboard using the ASRE platform online. And so if you click on that, you'll be able to see bridge conditions statewide and by planning regions for state and local bridges. So they're kind of tapping into PennDOT's databases and bringing into this nice little dashboard screen you can take a look at. On page 34, continuing our report, the highway performance monitoring system samples that we need to do each year. Since Catherine left, our intern from Bucknell University has been helping us out. And so we'll be submitting those by December 2nd and fulfilling that requirement for all the sample sections we need to do to validate the characteristics on these different sections of the roadway. And also our intern has picked up the data collection initiative. So those of you at the county level, your GIS offices have been supplying him with some of that data. So thank you for that. I think giving them online access, and we'll feed those into our analysis here, and anything that we serve out of that, and make it back available to use some of the outputs. So the major employer and the critical facility data that he's collecting from your GIS offices. Thanks for giving us those updates. On the LTAP side of things, Don's here if he wants to expound on anything further, but we did have the statewide advisory committee meeting and just learned a little bit more about this local force account. So the federal safety funds, they can go toward local roads. There'll be more information coming out. We'll make sure to send that to the members, but there'll be an opportunity for local governments to go out and essentially online click to submit an application to request this. So the first focus will be on pedestrian crossings and some lower cost signage installations and focused on curves. So more information to come and to flow, but it should be hopefully pretty painless. I think the LTAP folks are going to be helpful to take your municipalities through that, what's needed for studying and designing it. And then essentially they would receive reimbursement for their local road crews to go out and install the signs and pavement markings. So that's an exciting opportunity. Next in our section here on the work program report, we have our typical updates on local projects that have been tracking and field views that we've hit as staff. So if you have questions on those or you want to see any minutes, feel free to let us know for those meetings. And on the TA set aside that we have here, page 38, there's only 2 outstanding projects from the region for the 2018 round. The town of Bloomsburg, sidewalks and pedestrian upgrades. I think that's nearing completion, or it might be just completed. Either John or Lisa could share more on that. It was supposed to be completed in fall of 2022.
Yep.
And
Thanks.
yep, go ahead, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say it has been completed. There's some punch list items that are still going to be worked on, but traffic flow is open and East Street is being used. So great news after a 2-year program.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for sorting through all that. I know it was a big reconstruction project, and then what you did in tandem for the lighting and the sidewalks and everything. It's a nice upgrade when I've been through there recently anyhow. So thanks for your perseverance in getting that done. And the final TA set aside project is the North Branch Canal Trail Levee Top Trail. And that one's been a little bit stalled on a number of fronts, but the current letting, at least that we're accessing, is in 2024 for that. So announcement that, then the page 40 is the latest round for 2021. So the Bald Eagle Valley Trail in Clinton County, phase 5, and then the Market Street Streetscape, which was on your list of modifications. That's a statewide managed program, but that was added as an amendment for the city of Sunbury. But for the next iteration, what we've heard most recently from PennDOT is the next solicitation will probably be in May or June of 2023 for TA set aside. So if you have communities or organizations that are interested, please express that to them and have them do as much early work as they can to design their projects, have some public meetings, and get things up and running so they're most competitive. But May or June of 2023 is when we expect that. A little bit of adjustments. There's been that soft cap of $1 million typically for TA set aside. With inflation and other things going on, that's going to rise to $1.5 million for this next round. So there'll be an opportunity to request beyond $1 million for those higher profile important projects. And the project will need to be completed within 2 years of the funding award. Will be in the guidance. So when we get that draft guidance, we'll be sure to share that right away with the members, and hopefully we'll see really good competitive projects coming in for sometime next summer. And then our other customary things here is looking at the highway occupancy permits. So you have that tracking sheet for you, what's been submitted, kind of the back and forth with the PennDOT offices on revisions shown there, and also the traffic impact study scoping applications. So if you're not in the system to access them, let us know if you have questions, or if you want to get registered, you'll receive automatic notifications of when these HOPs and TISs are being submitted on the state system. We did have a lot in this section, so I'll just briefly mention page 43. The statewide planning partners meeting was held back in mid-October in State College. There was a lot of great information shared as usual. And if you're interested, if you look at the agenda that's in there, starting page 44, we have the PowerPoint presentations for these sessions that involve presentations if you're interested and want to check any of those out. And again, the statewide tip findings document is included in there for you in case you want to reference anything or learn what some of the enhancements might be in the future for the tip process. So it's a federal requirement to go through this each tip round and to issue this planning finding. But again, found that things are being done well within Pennsylvania, and a couple of those recommendations weren't directly applicable to us as the MPO, but on the safety side of things, the number one recommendation there is to continue to work on that, how we allocate the safety funds and get those committed and used. That was the primary one that would apply to us. So that takes us through, I believe, that whole section. Are there any questions or comments on the staff report? Okay, thank you. Next is agenda item G. So this will be an action item for approval. In your packet, starting on page 59, as the cover page for the work program. So those of you that were with us, if you recall, back in November of 2021 is when the MPO approved the Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal years 22 to 24. The bipartisan infrastructure law was passed that same month, and just as things were analyzed and unveiled and processed, there was a little bit of a delay in rolling out some of the additional funds from that, the planning dollars. But we learned back in September that we were due to receive a 7% bump in federal planning dollars to our region, and also this new program increasing safe and accessible transportation options was in there. So it's a required 2.5% takeoff or set aside. And since that's a new task that's added to our work program, we wanted to make sure we were putting this before the members and having it considered as a vote to amend our work program to capture that task. So in your packet on page 60 is a description, and we didn't have firm definitive things that were going to be done, so it's more of a menu of options as you see there of things that could potentially be done with this new approximately $15,000 a year. The description there, it's kind of things that are more complete streets related. As you see, putting in place standards or policies, accommodate all users of transportation and all ages. And we have a variety of things listed there that maybe could be done, and potentially consultant assistance to help deliver some of these. We know there are some municipalities that have been interested in bike ped audits in the past, maybe going through walk works, or maybe potentially passing their own complete streets ordinances or standards. So if you know of others you think are prime candidates for this, please let us know as soon as possible. Areas you think would really like to take advantage and move in the complete streets route more definitively. So it's a little bit open, but it's a new task that we wanted to make sure was out here with the insertion and put it out for discussion and vote and approval of the revised work program. The following tables after that are just the adjustments to the overall work program budget. And again, those 7% increase in funds applied to tasks 1 through 3, and then the plan updates and support. And the new one is that S4, increasing safe and accessible transportation options. So any questions, comments? If you don't have them today on any good candidates for the complete streets practices here, you can share them with us afterward. But any questions or comments on the work program adjustment?
Steve, this is Frank Hampton. Quick question. You planning to do this in-house with staff, or is this something you may be hiring consultants for?
It's to be determined, but we have our open-end agreement with the two consultant teams. So we figured if we were going to do direct work on behalf of a municipality to develop, some of these standards or complete streets models, that it might be quicker and a better fit for the consultants potentially.
Thank you.
And as Gene from Federal Highways mentioned, it could be things for the MPO as well. So if we want to do something specifically with a complete streets guide for the MPO, or factored into some of maybe our long range plan for the next update, or our middle Susquehanna bike ped plan, we could use those as well. It doesn't have to just go to a county or a municipality. It could be for the MPO level out also. So if there are no other questions or discussions, we would look for a vote to approve the revised fiscal year 22-24 work program for the SEDA COG MPO area.
I'll make that motion, Eric Staley.
Greg, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Greg. Thank you very much. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, great. We'll make the necessary submissions then to PennDOT for processing this amendment to our work program. Thank you very much. And we're still in that kind of holding pattern, I think, with a continuing resolution at the federal level. So if there are things that are modified as a result of a new appropriations bill, we'll let you know. But as of right now, this is what we have for our funding for the region and what we can work with right now. We're up to agenda item H, and that begins on page 64. We have another action item. Our last meeting, we shared the proposed MPO meeting dates for 2023. We didn't hear anything to the contrary. And as we stated, we did coordinate with the county planning directors group from CCAP, and it would avoid their quarterly meeting schedule. So we're just bringing it back in case anything's changed or if anybody has any conflicts they want to share about the proposed dates. And if there are none, we'd look for a motion to approve the 2023 MPO meeting dates.
Frank Hampton, so moved.
Brad just barely beat you out, so we'll give Brad Kirster the first, and we'll give you the second, Frank, if that's okay.
That's all right.
Okay, great. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move forward with those. If you can get them on your calendars, we'll get them on our website, and then a couple weeks before each meeting, we'll send the agenda, and we'll send the advance pack about a week out from the meetings. The January 20th meeting I'll just mention, I know Greg, you were interested in the past, and some others. Rapid Transit, we've coordinated with their planning manager, David Juba, to get him lined up for giving us an update on their stop hopper service, the micro transit. So he can give that, and there'll be that form and questions and comments from the group at the January meeting. In the fall, September, November is probably where we'll have the votes on approving the local bridge roster for the next HIP update. So as we kind of go through that solicitation process in the spring and building the priorities and recommendations and the scoring, probably in the fall is when that would occur. And we might need to add an additional meeting, maybe late in the year or early next year, just for the TA set aside. As those applications go into PennDOT, say May, June, pad a couple months till they're applying and reviewed by PennDOT, and until they're shared with us. We'll try and again schedule our normal round, have oral presentations by the applicants, and have the task force, the subcommittee that wants to get together and receive those presentations and make a recommendation to the full MPO. So it'll probably be a meeting potentially late in the year. Next is agenda item I. There's nothing in your packet on this. There's nothing that says there has to be a new election. You look at our bylaws, the way they're stated, but we say that it may be entertained at the end of the year. I think the practice of the group has been normally preferring that City College Transportation Director serves as the chair, and that the vice chair resides with the PennDOT Program Center seat on the roll from the voting membership. So we're just past our election season. I didn't see anybody putting any signs up around for the MPO chair and vice chair, but we want to give this opportunity. If there's any questions, comments, if you want to change things, you want someone new in the chair or the vice chair spots, and put that out here for discussion. And if there's interest, you can certainly make a motion to modify the chair and vice chair positions. But we'll note that Kerry Mullins, we're still kind of in limbo. He was our program center liaison for several years, and he's on assignment as the District 8 planning and programming manager now. We're not sure what will happen with that long term, but Frank, we've been glad to have him fulfilling Kerry's normal role with us and part of the process. So, with our interpretation of the bylaws and the way they are, that's what Frank is the vice chair, occupies and occupying Carrie's seat, but any other discussion or interest from members in any of the positions we'd be open to. Okay, if not, then go ahead, Frank.
No, I was just gonna laugh. It's like getting volunteers in the military.
Especially for a nighttime duty, huh?
Yep, or latrine or anything else. Yep.
Okay, well, we'll keep those. As I said, there's no tenure, we're not term limited on any of these, so, but this is normal where we say there's that open entertainment of adjustments of officers, but if you're comfortable with them, we'll keep them as is.
You don't need a motion or anything like that. It's just,
No, but if we want to get the confirmation, we could.
Steve, I'll make a motion to retain our current officers.
Okay, thank you, Brad, for the motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Lisa Dooley, second.
We'll give it to Gray. He just barely beat you out,
I'll
Lisa.
give it to anybody.
Thank you, Brad and Greg. All in favor of the current seats for officers being retained, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. It's our normal kind of end of year business. So I think that takes us through those items. We're up to agenda item J, and Kristen's going to give us an update on the road safety reviews that have been conducted in the coordination with the counties and PennDOT.
Sure, thank you. This is a process that was started by Catherine before she left, I believe, back in August. And she started out by evaluating high crash value at intersections or road segments within the MPO area. And that information was passed along to the districts, and their representatives selected specific sites, either 1 or 2 per county. And then we worked to schedule those site visits. That included PennDOT representatives. Steve and I were both at them, and some municipal representatives throughout the time that we were out there. We did them on November 2nd and November 9th. They're hard to plan, I realized. Obviously, there's a lot of people involved that need to be there, and their schedules are very difficult to wrangle into one particular day. So I greatly appreciate everyone that was able to be there and participate and add some value to that process. So I'm just going to go down through the ones that we did visit in alphabetical order. Obviously, we have a large MPO area, and so it was very difficult to hit all of the sites that we wanted. So in District 3, we only hit 1 site per county, and I'll get to the 2 that were, I don't want to say left off. There were reasons why we didn't visit those particular counties. And then in District 3, we were able to visit 2 sites per county, both in Juniata and Mifflin. And so in Columbia County, we visited State Route 11. This is a particular segment that is near Wise Markets. This had an excess crash value that seemed to be mostly due to center of turning lane, multiple access points. That obviously that's an entire really developed area with a lot of driveways in and out of various businesses. This is an area that has an upcoming project that is a road microsurfacing that is on the tip for future development. It's kind of difficult to identify specific design or engineering components that could be done on that roadway to reduce the access crashes, because it really is an access point issue and just general user error, I guess you could say. And certainly as I go through these, anyone that participated in any of these, let me know, or if you have any questions on any of them. We went to, in District 2, Juniata County, we went to 2 sites there. One was State Route 75. This is at the Rudders intersection. And this is just a really busy area, again, with a lot of access points and conflicting movements that require quick decisions in terms of, am I turning left, am I turning right, am I getting in this lane or going here? So the best outcome of that would be better turning options and better phasing of how you get from one place to another. But that's really a large improvement that would be difficult to implement without some significant investment, obviously. The other site that we went to in Juniata County was State Route 333. And this is an issue with road curvature really, and could easily be improved. At a lot of these sites, it was interesting to watch how what is causing these crashes actually occurring. So as you know, people are going around these curves, how they're leaving the lane and how that is probably contributing to the excess crash value. District 2 suggested that these could be improved. This particular site could be improved with high friction road surface. That was a common recommendation of these, as well as additional curve signage, pavement markings, and potential rumble strips. In Montour County, we visited State Route 54 and 3003 intersection, which is in Valley Township. That's McCracken Road and Valley Road. And that again is difficult to determine what can be done. The larger issue is turning in and out of Valley Road, McCracken Road, and a development in that area. And also it makes it more challenging because of the site topography. The one lane is coming down a hill, the other one's coming up a hill. So sight distance in terms of, hey, I'm reaching the peak of the hill and starting to come down, and someone in front of me is braking and turning into some place, and that is a little bit difficult to deal with. I'm sorry, the future development is also planned in that area that could impact the site that we were looking at in ways that I believe are currently unknown how that impact will go. And so some possible solutions that we discussed were yellow flashing warning signs in terms of upcoming turning sites. And it would be great to reconfigure the roadway to add a turning lane, additional road surface so people can turn right and sort of also an acceleration lane. But that again would be a big investment. And right now, I think probably the best recommendation would be to wait and see what the new development in that area and additional improvements would cause to that particular situation and address it in a systemic way. In the county, we visited 2 sites. One was State Route 322, and this was in the Seven Mountains area. The eastbound is the bigger problem with road curvature. This is near a runaway truck ramp, so that kind of just gives you an idea of what might be the problem in that particular space. Again, high friction road surface, additional signage, and curb warning pavement markings were recommended by District 2. The 522 site, this is mostly an issue with the northbound lane, and again, seeing it on site, it was pretty easy to watch as everybody did exactly what is causing the crashes. In that particular area, you kind of go uphill, and then all of a sudden there's a turn that goes downhill, and then there's another turn, and it's just difficult, I think, for people to stay within their lane, and that's causing some issues. So again, there, high friction road surface, rumble strips, and curb warnings were part of the recommendations. In Northumberland County, we visited State Route 4026, which is along Irish Valley Road, that is in Shamokin Township. And this is pretty much excess speed, again, very similar actually to some of the other sites that we looked at. It's excess speed with curvature and causing lane departures, and that was really observed over and over and over again while we were there. And we discussed the option of rumble strips and fog seals, but it's really keeping people in their lane as they're going around those bends in that particular area. And the last one that we visited was in alphabetical order, it's actually the first one we visited, was Union County, and that is the intersection of Route 15 and 44 right there at Sunoco. And that is largely, I think, impacted by access points at Sunoco. You do have traffic backup, some speed issues in approaching the intersection, but there's a lot of issues with cars turning in and out of Sunoco, perhaps unsafely. And the discussion centered around some minor improvements that could be made to the signal, such as the reflective backlights, to make it more visible, and a long-term desire just to see better access management at Sunoco if that can be ever possible. We did not visit the sites in Clinton County or Snyder County. This was not a slight at all. The two sites that were identified as high excess crash values in Clinton County were both on Interstate 80. So not a great place to kind of pull off and get out of the car and see. So we're talking about potentially doing some virtual field views and safety audits in those areas to see what can be done. And so same thing, but just virtual. And in Snyder County, the two locations that were identified with the high excess crash values, one of them is on Route 11, there between the split of 15 and 11 by where Ted's used to be. And essentially the reason we didn't want to stop there is the exact reason why it's having high crash values is it's just unsafe. There's a narrow roadway with the river and the hill on the other side. So it just wasn't a great place to stop and get out. Again, a potential site for a virtual field view. And the other Snyder County site, oddly enough, was part of the 522 corridor study at the intersection of, I believe, with Salem Road and University Avenue. That is the site that is proposed for the roundabout. So it was interesting to see that that was already on, that was on the list and already is being addressed. So if anyone who was there, I know Greg was there, Union County was represented, and we had a lot of folks from the district there. And I just want to thank everyone who was able to attend and the district for providing us with a lot of information and really good feedback on how we might be able to do this. The idea being eventually potentially using these sites as for some HSIP funding.
Well, I appreciate the fact that we were given the opportunity to bring PennDOT, the township folks, the county, and SEDA COG to the location and actually see it, work it, talk it out right there on the spot, to physically see how it's being affected by topography coming down from 154. Being there and having all these things thrown out together, we didn't come up with any solutions. We came up with some suggestions and things that we can look into go forward. But without that opportunity to interface, some of those things may have been missed.
Yep, that's a big intent of that. It's a collaborative process and bringing people from different disciplines, planning, engineering, the local government together and troubleshoot. And hopefully we can do some things. Maybe a few things you can try that are low cost and maybe build to something bigger in the future. So appreciate your involvement and what you got out of it.
Yeah, and again, a very big thank you to everyone that participated in the districts for their assistance in this process. It was really invaluable for me. We had a comment on the chat. Let me just put that up here. A question. Do you want to go ahead, Jeff, about the 522 roundabout? Is this a good time for that?
Oh, yeah, this is Jeff from PA Transportation Alliance, Pennsylvania Silk. So what's the time frame for the completion of the Route 522 roundabout at this point?
There's no definitive time. It was a proposal. If you go out on our website, the Route 522 Corridor Safety Project is listed there, and it was in the packet. So it's something that would need a further study and design of. It's just that was seen as kind of tailor-made for a roundabout to address the issues at that location. Certainly better than a signal would. So there's no definitive timing. It's just a consideration to have some further detailed analysis and study done on it. There was a rendering that was in the final report there that you can kind of see the general aspect of what it would look like. But nothing definitive at this stage. But they do, where you have severe crashes and fatal crashes, they drop those substantially, and that was seen as a prime site for that.
Okay, and Steve, I know you've been on some of the Transportation Alliance calls. We had one earlier this year that talked about roundabouts, and I'll reach back to you for some local comments. I know some in disability community have had questions about the way some of these are designed, particularly folks that are blind that may live in those areas and things like that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? You know, we can provide additional, if you have any questions or want to talk further through some of those recommendations, we can certainly do that. You can reach out to me at any time and we can have those conversations.
Yeah, thanks for running that down, Christian, and taking that on. I know you kind of came in toward the end of the stream, but thanks for coordinating everything and all the partners and the district involvement there. Again, our focus, we certainly capture and reflect, you know, things that you and local governments bring to us that are safety concerns, but with kind of the real particular nature of the HSIP funds, the Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, you have to focus on those excess value areas, and the countermeasures have to be, you know, appropriate that are being considered for the site. So that's why we kind of honed down to this more narrow list, where we did have, you know, crashes that were exceeding what was predicted or expected for these intersections or segments. So we'll follow up more, and we'll hopefully get, you know, some things obligated. Some of these things could be part of a group project, like Krista mentioned, the high friction surface. You can kind of take advantage of that and, you know, get better bids if you group, you know, treatments on some of these roadways we have here, maybe with some others that are within the district. So hopefully we'll get some implementation here in the next year to 3 years, and we'll follow up with more details. And we can't share, I know Greg, you brought the question last time about the crash data with the confidential nature and the disclaimers that go on these, you know, from PennDOT. We can't share that, but we can certainly talk about, you know, things that are moved forward and the further study and design and potentially program on the tip. But the actual crash data behind it, there's only a limited amount of data that's on the public piece of Pennsylvania Crash Information Tool that can be shared with other groups and parties. We can just kind of use them for analysis purposes here. Thank you everyone for your involvement, you know, with that, and we'll try to do what we can to reduce crashes and fatalities and injuries within the region. And probably early next year is when we'll have the normal target setting that we do as an MPO, responding to after the state sets its safety targets for performance measures. Then all the MPOs and RPOs have to either abide by that to pursue the same targets or set their own and kind of go through their own statistical processes for that. So probably in January we'll have that on the agenda for approving the safety targets. It's typically been 2% reduction annual goal. And next is the member forum. There's some things in your packet. We'll put it out for everyone, but I know just to touch base on the reappointments that we discussed last time. And Kristen was coordinating and received Steve's and Mark Calusi's. So then the other two with expiring terms in December were Lisa Doley and Jack Kittle. So when their councils act on those resolutions, you'll all be good for another 4-year period, and look forward to you joining and participating in all our processes here at MPO, and, you know, all the value you bring to what we do as a regional planning agency. And we stagger those, so there'll be other folks up for next year. I think it's the SEDA COG board appointed positions for next year. So all you county and municipal folks, you'll be off for next year. You won't have to worry about getting any action or getting reappointed. It'll be the ones that the SEDA COG board appoints. In the packet, there's just kind of general things I won't really touch on or belabor, other than I'll just mention the page 69, the Safe Routes to Parks, Pennsylvania Activating Communities Program. We had shared that out via email. We were contacted by the Safe Routes Partnership about this. It's a new initiative and some technical assistance available statewide for how to improve access to parks and recreational facilities. So if that's of interest, the deadline is coming up quickly. I think it's December 2nd. If any municipalities or organizations are interested in that, they could receive $10,000 award and help to initiate some action plans to address those situations and get better access into your parks. So those are the only ones that I was going to highlight from that report. Is there other things for the good of the order? Anything that any of the members are working on that you want to share with the entire group for the member forum?
Hey, Steve. Just a quick question, a follow-up on something we were working on earlier about a week ago. Reminder about end of year federal obligations listing. Have to be posted to the website by the end of the year. And I wanted to see if the Bureau of Public Transportation got back to you on your question.
I have not heard anything on that request now.
Okay, then I'll try to reach out to Andy and see if I can get them moving for you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Yep, yeah, as Frank's referencing, that's all the projects that had federal funding obligations within the fiscal year 2022. We need to show all those, make them available, post them on our website. So that's an end of year, December 31st deadline requirement. So we'll do that, and then we can share at the January meeting a link to that document for you to take a look and see everything that had federal obligations within that fiscal year. You know, what the amounts were, what's left in the balance, and have all the project numbers and reference there as well that people can check out. Anything additional member forum wise?
Jeff has a question.
Okay.
And request.
Yeah, this is Jeff from PA Transportation Alliance again. One request is you mentioned that Rabbit's going to share on their microtransit in January. Can you have them include something on the same day shared ride? And the reason I ask that is I know they're doing it as well as other transportation alliance or transportation providers across PA. It's not being done in every county to my knowledge, but I think some folks that are attend this meeting and read the notes would be interested in that. And my other question is, and I didn't see it in any of the current MPO materials, maybe I missed it. Is there anything in this region that's going on as far as highly autonomous vehicles? And I kind of pressed the question a little bit based on Rep. Oberlander's highly autonomous vehicles bill. I know there's a lot of stakeholders in that group who are interested. I haven't heard anything in this region. I know it's mostly out in the Pittsburgh area and Philly, but I was curious. Thanks.
If there's any testing, I would think maybe Penn State might be involved along with the COG email and the Pittsburgh folks, but I don't know if anybody else is aware of any testing of highly autonomous vehicles within the region at all.
There's no other like industry that's really connected to that, because I want to say it was Argo in Pittsburgh had laid off, I think like 600 or 700 people recently. So I was curious about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we can check with David if there's things that he has to maybe share about the same day shared ride. And if you're available for the 20th and there's additional questions you want to pose to him, please feel free.
Thank you.
Anything additional? If not, we can go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn and send you all on the way. Save a few minutes here on your Friday, which is always a good thing, right? And then look forward to a blessed Thanksgiving and holiday season coming up. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Frank Hampton, so moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Thanks.
I'm not sure if we got one, but probably somebody in the room will give us one, right? Okay, second by Brad. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Have a blessed Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you all. Thanks for being here, and have a great rest of your day and your weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.